Here's a hard truth most men don't want to face, but need to hear. When a woman starts ignoring you, pulling away, or suddenly acting cold, it's rarely random. It's rarely confusion. In most cases, it's intentional. That realization can sting, but clarity is always more powerful than comfort. And this video is not about blaming women, attacking anyone, or turning you into a victim. It's about restoring perspective, self-respect, and control. Too many men collapse emotionally the moment a woman's energy shifts. They panic, they overthink, they send more messages, offer more explanations, and start apologizing for things they didn't even do. Not because they're weak men, but because they were taught that chasing equals care, that persistence equals love, and that proving yourself earns attraction. That belief quietly destroys self-worth. What actually earns respect isn't desperation, it's composure. It's a man who notices a change in energy and doesn't lose himself trying to fix it. A man who understands that attraction responds to confidence, not pressure. Strength isn't about control or manipulation. Strength is about how you respond when you're not chosen immediately. This moment, when she pulls back, is a defining moment. It exposes how you see yourself. Do you react from fear or do you respond from clarity? Because how you handle distance doesn't just affect her attraction. It shapes your identity as a man. This video exists to give you that clarity, not to help you chase harder, but to help you stand stronger. When a woman creates distance, most men see it as rejection. They assume something is wrong with them or that they're about to lose everything. But emotionally grounded men see it differently. They understand that distance is not just absence, it's information. It reveals where the balance of power actually sits. Attraction isn't built on constant reassurance. It's built on emotional stability. When someone pulls away, they are unconsciously observing how you handle uncertainty. Do you remain centered or do you unravel? Do you continue living your life with purpose or does your mood collapse the moment her attention fades? Your response answers those questions louder than any words ever could. Many men make the mistake of equating effort with value. They believe that giving more will inspire appreciation. In reality, overinvestment during emotional withdrawal communicates insecurity. It signals that your sense of worth depends on her validation. And once that dynamic forms, attraction weakens because desire cannot thrive where pressure exists. This doesn't mean every woman who pulls back is testing you intentionally. Sometimes feelings genuinely shift. Sometimes curiosity fades. But regardless of the reason, your responsibility stays the same. You protect your self-respect first. You don't chase clarity from someone who is choosing distance. You allow actions to speak instead of arguing with silence. Distance forces a choice. You either abandon your center to regain attention, or you stay grounded and let the situation reveal its truth. Men who choose the second path don't lose power. They discover it. This is where most men undo their own progress. The moment she becomes distant, they feel an urge to fix the connection, so they text first, then again and again. Not because they have something meaningful to say, but because silence makes them uncomfortable. They mistake activity for strength, when in reality, restraint is what creates leverage. Here's the reality most men avoid. If a woman genuinely wants to talk to you, she will. Interest doesn't need reminders. It doesn't need follow-ups or emotional check-ins. When you continue texting after her effort drops, you're not maintaining connection. You're compensating for its absence. And that quietly lowers your position in the dynamic. Silence, when used correctly, is not manipulation. It's self-regulation. It's choosing not to invest energy where it's no longer being matched. When you stop texting first, you allow the space to do its job. You let her feel the absence she created. You step out of reaction mode and back into control. This shift often triggers curiosity. She begins to notice what changed, not because you demanded attention, but because you removed yourself from the emotional loop. And even if she doesn't return, you've gained something more important: clarity. You now know where you stand without chasing an answer. The fear most men have is simple. What if I lose her? But ask yourself this: if your silence ends the connection, was there real interest left to protect? A connection that survives only through pursuit isn't connection, it's dependency. Strong men don't beg for presence. They allow effort to reveal intention. When interest is real, it returns naturally. When it's not, Silence saves you time, dignity, and emotional energy. The moment a woman becomes distant, many men feel compelled to ask, "Is something wrong?" It sounds reasonable, it sounds mature, but in reality, this question often works against you. Not because communication is bad, but because of why you're asking. Most of the time, it isn't clarity you're seeking, it's reassurance. When you ask that question during emotional withdrawal, you place yourself in a reactive position. You're signaling that you've noticed the shift, but you don't trust yourself to respond without her explanation. That subtly hands over emotional control. Attraction doesn't grow where leadership disappears. Here's the truth. If a woman wants to talk about what's bothering her, she will bring it up. You don't need to extract it. You don't need to decode her silence. When someone chooses distance, that distance is the message. Words won't override behavior. Asking what's wrong often leads to vague answers. "I'm just busy. I need space." Or "I'm figuring things out." And once you hear that, most men fall into negotiation mode. They try to fix emotions, convince feelings, or prove patience. That doesn't restore attraction. It reinforces imbalance. This doesn't mean becoming emotionally closed or indifferent. It means refusing to reward unclear behavior with clear emotional effort. You stay present, calm, and focused on your life. You let her come forward if she wants to explain. And if she doesn't, you accept that without chasing clarity. Men who stop asking for reassurance start projecting confidence. They don't argue with silence. They observe it and move accordingly.
This is the point where everything becomes real. Many men say they value themselves, but few are willing to act on it when it costs them someone they want. If a woman consistently distances herself, avoids effort, or treats you like an option, the most powerful move you can make is being willing to leave. Walking away isn't anger, it isn't pride, and it isn't a tactic to provoke a reaction. It's a decision rooted in self-respect. You're acknowledging that mutual interest should feel mutual, not forced, negotiated, or slowly extracted over time. Men lose themselves when they stay in situations that drain them emotionally. They convince themselves that patience will be rewarded, that consistency will eventually be noticed. But attraction doesn't grow from endurance, it grows from choice. And when someone stops choosing you, staying longer doesn't restore value, it reduces it. A man who can walk away without resentment sends a clear message, even in silence. He values his time, he values his emotional well-being, and he understands that peace is worth more than potential. Sometimes walking away leads her to reflect and re-engage with clarity. Sometimes it doesn't, but either outcome is a win because you're no longer suspended in uncertainty. The question isn't how to make her stay. The question is whether you're willing to leave when respect disappears. When the answer is yes, you reclaim your power, not over her, but over yourself.
When a woman pulls away, the most common mistake men make is turning her into a mission. Every thought becomes about how to regain her attention, how to fix the connection, how to return things to how they used to be. But the moment she becomes your focus, you abandon your own center. And once that happens, attraction continues to decline. Chasing someone who stepped back doesn't come from love. It comes from a need to be chosen again. It's an ego response, not a grounded one. That's why so many men spiral during this phase. They reread old messages, monitor her online activity, and wait for a notification that defines their mood for the day. Meanwhile, their own life quietly stalls. Here's what emotionally strong men do differently. They redirect their attention inward, not as a tactic, but as a reset. They refocus on their physical health, their work, their purpose, and their discipline. They invest energy into areas that produce long-term confidence instead of short-term validation. This shift is powerful for two reasons. First, it stabilizes you. You stop feeling controlled by someone else's behavior. Your mood becomes consistent again. Second, it changes how you're perceived. Emotional independence is felt even without communication. It creates contrast. It creates mystery. But this only works when it's real. If you focus on yourself only to secretly hope she notices, you're still stuck. The goal isn't to make her come back. The goal is to become a man who doesn't lose himself when someone leaves. Ironically, that's the version of you that attraction responds to most. Not because you tried harder, but because you finally stopped trying to be chosen and started choosing yourself. Many men misunderstand what actually creates respect. They believe being kind, understanding, and always available will make a woman feel secure and drawn closer. Kindness itself isn't the issue. The problem is over-availability without boundaries. When your time, attention, and energy are always accessible, they lose perceived value. When a woman begins pulling away and you respond by becoming more available, you don't appear supportive. You appear ungrounded. Immediate replies, canceled plans, and constant emotional availability communicate that your life pauses for her. Over time, this predictability erodes attraction because desire thrives on balance, not excess. Being unavailable doesn't mean playing games or acting cold. It means having a full life that doesn't revolve around someone who is uncertain. It means honoring your schedule, your priorities, and your standards. When you stop over-explaining and over-offering, you naturally regain presence. Respect grows when people feel that access to you must be earned through consistency, not taken for granted. When you withdraw attention from unclear or inconsistent behavior, you're not punishing anyone. You're simply aligning your energy with how you expect to be treated. This is where many men get it wrong. They think withdrawing attention is manipulation. In reality, it's self-protection. You're not trying to trigger a reaction. You're choosing not to invest where investment isn't being returned. You can be calm, polite, and emotionally mature without being endlessly available. That balance creates respect, and where respect exists, attraction has space to breathe.